So what's going on, comic book friends? I'll be 100 with y'all. This right here is keeping me interested in this whole comic book series. However, don't get me wrong, I love me some Wesley Snipes, y'all, but I'm saying this right here is going to keep me in for the long run because I got to figure out what they're doing right here. Without further ado, welcome to Reviews from the Six. My name is Cedric, but you can call me Ceddy Said, and today we are reviewing Wesley Snipes Exiled. So the story is by Wesley Snipes, Adam Lawson, and Keith Aram, and the art is by Gabriel Santos. And first things first, y'all, you know what it is. It doesn't matter if you're a Marvel fan, a DC fan, a Image comic fan, Boom comic fan, Valiant comic fan, indie fan, it don't matter. We are discussing our hobbies and we are discussing comics. So you know I love coming here to talk to you guys, and I couldn't wait to talk to you guys about The Exiled. So as you know, we have the cover art here. The cover art is usually what gets all of us. It brings us in, and I'll be honest with you, I had mixed vibes about it, right? Because it gave me like Blade vibes. It gave me Demolition Man vibes. It's Wesley Snipes, right? Don't get me wrong. He played all those roles and in all those movies, but it was just too much of that. And from the get-go, I didn't know if I wanted to pick it up because I'm like, I'm just going to be rereading the movies I watched growing up on, right? Because that's just what it reminded me of. Now, it is a little bit like that, but we'll go ahead and get into the story a little bit later as we get past the art. Of course, you have the back page here, which is pretty much just the front page. And like on the front page, you see like all the guts. It is a pretty graphic comic. I wouldn't say too graphic. I wouldn't go to the point of like Transmetropolitan, but it is pretty gory. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. It's pretty gory. Not a whole lot of gore, but you're going to get some gore up in here. So of course, we have the art. Oh, well, this is actually another story. So let me go ahead and get it here. So boom. All right. So you see what I mean? Like, it's it's definitely Wesley Snipes vibes, you know, but Blade vibes too. The art's good, y'all. I really like the art. Not bad at all. Like, I felt like Connor Lee, which we'll get into a little bit. I just loved like the panels he were in, like the colors they used too. Like everything just went well. It's like the colors they used made the red pop. So when you actually saw red, you were like, oh, it's going down. Now, there's an event called the Red Friday that happened, the Red Friday attack. But we'll go and get into that right now, actually, because we start at chapter 1. But of course, it really doesn't start at chapter 1. There is a pre-story to it. So without any spoilers, what happens is that Mr. Roach Washington, which is the name of Wesley Snipes' character, he's a detective, and they really don't say if he's going to save anyone or anything, but he is going to a location where he's trying to stop something. And in that location, it's kind of like the sacrifice, not kind of like, it is the sacrifice that we were looking at. Now, without going into too many details, the sacrifice that's going on, he's like, hey, prepare my vessel. And then that's where you kind of saw him open up his shirt. But to backtrack a little bit, that's going on, right? Now, as he's trying to prevent it, we don't even know if he's trying to prevent it. We just know that he found a location and he's trying to get into the location. And then there's a cutscene of them doing that in a location. They show a little girl holding a bomb, and the bomb is getting ready to go off. And he's like, no, don't do it. The bomb goes off, and instead of an explosion, this red like dust comes out and then engulfs everybody, and it literally melts them. Like, as you see here, all the guts and everything, it melts them. They just become puddles of visor, I guess. I don't know. But they just become puddles of guts and blood and all that stuff, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm in it to win it. Let's get it. And they pretty much say that he was exiled for that reason, that they don't know if he was the cause of it, and they don't know if he could have prevented it. But either way it goes, since he's a black man, he's going to be held accountable for it. And that's exactly what they did. They exiled him. So fast forward a year later, they kind of bring him back, and he's partnered with Mr. Connor Lee. And they're investigating a murder that happened, and when they're investigating the murder, they end up finding which I kind of wish they gave us a little bit backstory to that. Like, it just couldn't be a random murder, right? Because when they did the investigation, they end up finding the Red Friday attack, and in that book was the name of the survivors. Now remember, it disintegrated everyone. So that makes Mr. Roach here irate. He's just like, there's no way, give me that. And they just start fighting over stuff. So then you kind of get the feeling like, who's the bad guy here? Because one is taking calls, you know, and they're like, hey, does he know anything? And then when they go to Mr. Washington, there's a cutscene, and every time there's a cutscene, there's like a murder that's happening, or someone getting violated, or just getting like manhandled. You're like, okay. So I think both these dudes have something to do with the attack. There's a couple things that's not really explained. Like, there's a couple murders that happen, and there's a bullet that is kind of invisible and it disintegrates too. I mean, there's a lot of disintegration here. So I'm taking it that the main story is about people vanishing, right? Exiled kind of leads into being exiled, being on your own. People disintegrating into nothing, is, you know, they kind of just disappear. So I think that's the direction that the story is going. The story is going into the direction of, you know, Wesley Snipes at one point was on top of the world. Like I said, Demolition Man. Demolition Man. You know, you had Waiting to Exhale, which is funny because I still remember a joke that was told about him being in Waiting to Exhale. But all the movies, Area or Drop Zone 57, Passenger 57, something like that. I mean, Wesley Snipes was on top of the road at one point, and then all of a sudden he just disappeared. All I know is that he had tax troubles, and I didn't see him in anything for a long time. But I want to say recently I just saw him in a movie on Netflix or somewhere. I really can't think about it right now. No, that was Eddie Murphy. Yeah, anyways. But long story short, I think that's exactly the whole purpose of this series. The purpose of the series is just about people disappearing out of thin air, because that's kind of what happened to him, right? Now, like I said, it does kind of throw me off a little bit because I don't want stories like the Demolition Man, even though that was one of my favorite movies and one of my favorite characters. To me, that's just what it is. And then Blade 2, I mean, you can kind of look at the Blade influence, a lot of blood, Blade with the vampires, but you don't get Blade. I mean, you do get a guy with a lot of martial arts skills, and he's a detective, but we really don't have a backstory on him yet. And I think that's one of the things that prevented me from liking this comic book in the beginning, is because with my first read, it didn't give me a lot. It didn't tell me a lot. My second read, it was like, oh, okay. It made me understand that there's more to it. There's an event, and we have to figure out exactly who is the bad guy. I mean, was Roach exiled because he is a bad guy, or have some type of association with a clan that's killing everyone, disintegrating anyone, and ripping out their spines? And I think that was one cool part that I liked about the story too, but they didn't really go much into it, is, you know, they're getting their spines ripped out. Now, I don't know if they're getting their spines ripped out and they're inserting other spines, you know, because we all know we have a reptilian spine, and there was one series that came on, I want to say FX, I can't remember the name right now, but he was a vampire, and he would kind of transfer vessels that way, you know, rip out his skull or rip out his spine and then insert his spine into another vessel. Now he's another vessel. So I kind of think that's what's going on too, but they don't even go into that. We're still wondering about the Red Friday attack, and they gave us just enough, because when you get to the end of the story, they put in another story in here, which has nothing to do with the main story. So it was like they were filling in space. I think the second one should be good. I believe they are on the 4th issue right now. But I dig it. I mean, there wasn't a lot of guns. Like, even though you see him holding a gun here, I mean, he really wasn't using it. Even though you see that he has a lot of, like, not accessories, but it looks like he has a lot of modifications done to him. They don't go into that. You hardly see anything about that in here. So just the character himself, like, I feel like they didn't do a real good job on telling me about the characters, but they did just enough for me to stay intrigued. Because after all, it is a mystery. I believe it is a murder mystery. So I am intrigued on all that. You know, who are these guys? Why did it happen? What's the event? I just don't want to get carried along with the you know, the carrot in front of the horse type thing. You know, get to the point where you're like, because I just saw the recent cover, and it's literally Wesley Snipes on there. So I don't know if it's gotten good or bad. But with that being said, man, What do you think about The Exile? Do you enjoy this issue? Are you going to continue with this series? Do you think it's going to be too much like A Blade or too much like Demolition Man? Because those are the vibes I get. Are you getting those vibes? Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Your vibe attracts your tribe, and that's why you're here today. Make sure you hit that like button. If you don't hit that like button, YouTube is going to be like, nobody likes Cedric content. We're not going to show anybody anything. So hit it. Make sure you hit that notification bell. You don't want to miss any future uploads. You know you love this content. Come on back. Come on back. Also, hit that share button. Share this video to any and all social media platforms, specifically to anyone that this would be useful to. With that being said, I just want to thank you guys for joining me today on the review for Wesley Snipes, The Exiled. Peace, love, and blessings.